Well, hello everybody. How's it going? It is Wednesday, April 3rd, 2024, and this is a RambleCast. So, I'm your host, Cody Toombs. There is no Corbin this week. He's absent. My understanding is he is currently running from the law. He's traveled across state lines. Yeah, poor guy. Poor guy. Turns out investigators got to look at what he had on his computer. So, yeah, it's a manhunt. Austin. So, I do, in fact, have that one on the list. Yeah, there's not a lot of topics this week. And that's not to say that this is a slow news week. I actually kind of disagree with that. It's been a big news week. It's just... there's certain stuff that's big news and there's just so little to say about it. So little I should say about it. The biggest example that comes to mind is the near hack of basic, or not every, but most of the Linux systems out there. For those who haven't heard about this, this is kind of huge news, but at the same time, I dare say it's almost boring. So let's see. Can I find the? Yeah, here we go. Let me quickly drag this one in. This isn't the whole story. Can I find? Yeah, this isn't really the best post for it, but sure. We'll just use this as our backdrop for this one. So yeah, if you have heard about the XZUtil story, this is a massive deal. A mystery developer or semi-mystery developer named Gia Tan was basically responsible for slowly incorporating a backdoor into a utility that is installed on very nearly all major Linux systems, for lack of a better way to say it. The story is essentially, honestly, kind of boring. That's the weird part about this. Let's see. I will post a link to this in chat just in case anybody wants to read the whole backstory here. But the nature of this was, at least what we know so far, or what I've heard so far, admittedly, I haven't read anything in the last day or so, but I heard about this yesterday. I've been hearing about this, but yeah, I'm caught up to yesterday's news. The shortest version I can offer is this developer, and obviously was also working with some other people on this, slowly was incorporating a backdoor into this utility. Again, like I said, it's running on most Linux systems. And its purpose is essentially to encrypt and decrypt content that's coming into it. It's really just sort of a background utility. Anyway, because it wasn't being updated very frequently or really being properly maintained, there was no one specific really maintaining it. This one developer started actually sort of maintaining it. And after a while, there started becoming calls for someone to actually be credited with maintaining this and given the power to sort of push their own updates. So after building trust, this developer was given that access, and they started further maintaining this piece of software. That's where the problem lies, as the developer who was given the trust, this Gia Tan, then proceeded to start installing this backdoor. Now, that in and of itself is kind of your typical social engineering nightmare story for backdoors. But the story got really weird when it turns out that a Microsoft developer was trying to get to the bottom of why there was a performance bottleneck on some of the servers that they were like doing remote access development for. Sorry, I'm saying that poorly. He was working on software for remote access into servers, and he noticed that it wasn't performing very well. So as he starts looking into this, he finds out that this XZUtils software was the problem. It was basically taking up too much system resources, and he's like, "Oh, okay, what's going on here?" As he starts looking into it, he discovers all these layers of sort of weird behavior, and none of it really made a lot of sense. Again, just go to the link, read the backstory if you want to get more of this. And I'm not even sure that this is the best link for that, but I have a feeling it links into the other stuff somewhere. Anyway, he stumbles across this slow conspiracy to add this backdoor to the software, and then he alerts obviously lots and lots of people that he discovered this. So this was a total accident that it was found. What would have happened if this backdoor had actually been fully installed and implemented is it would have allowed full backdoor access to basically every major Linux server out there. To the extent of, I mean, we're talking, you could have broken into anything if you knew how to access this vulnerability. It would have been disastrous for the internet. It would have been devastating to numerous companies. Definitely not the CIA. Look, I'm not sure the CIA could have pulled this off. Well, to be fair, Giatan didn't pull it off either, but that was a fluke. By all accounts, it was total luck that this was discovered. Yay, but at the same time, it further demonstrates that we really need to have... Well, in the last few years, we've seen so many examples of open source and sort of community-driven software needs to have more checks put into it. Because this isn't the first story of something like this. Obviously, like, this is the worst thing that has ever been attempted, and it is possibly one of the biggest, and it's also one of the silliest because of how it was discovered, and ultimately the plan was foiled. However, when you look back across all these stories of a few years ago, there was an open source package where the developer just decided, and it was the original developer of the package, they just decided, yeah, I'm not happy about people using my software anymore, so it was not, I wouldn't call it malware, but they basically put like an intentional breaking change into their software, and it ended up just absolutely wrecking tons and tons of important packages. There was another one that pulled, again, someone who was just petty about it. They decided to pull the package that was like a very low level library, and it ended up causing literally like thousands of different software suites to basically break. Like, they couldn't be built anymore because this one package decided to break everything. There's been I don't know how many examples of this, but there's also been a lot of stories of developers working on a thing, and then malware developed by whomever altered the code to add either backdoors or security holes or something like that. So basically, a developer working on a thing, they submit their changes, but because of this malware, the changes that they submit include some sort of backdoor or vulnerability, which I gotta say is pretty smart malware to build that targets specific types of code. Anyway, those have then propagated throughout various package managers, and this is how a lot of very legitimate, very trusted code, things that we rely on day-to-day basis, a lot of that stuff can actually be vulnerable because the developer's machine gets hacked at some point. I think we're hitting kind of a second stage or third stage of you can't trust the internet anymore. We've had this many times. This isn't a new concept. The internet is deeply vulnerable and flawed in countless ways. But we're getting another one of those, like, we're crossing another phase, I think, where, look, there was a time when everyone said, you know what? Web traffic, it's fine if it's encrypted or unencrypted. Nobody cares. Turned out that was true for a while. It stopped being true. There were times when you didn't need to run an antivirus on your computer. Yeah, those days are gone. There was also a time when people said you need to run an antivirus on your computer, so you go out and install, I don't know, Norton or Kaspersky. Yeah, those days are gone too, because holy crap, I don't trust the antivirus software. There's been, 2 different instances where the antivirus software itself at least 2 instances of antivirus software being responsible for actually spreading the viruses. And there's been, honestly, I don't think we can even count how many times now various antivirus software has been responsible for deleting system files. McAfee has done that at least a dozen times. Kaspersky has done it, I can recall, 3 or 4. I'm trying to think of all the others. I'm pretty sure Norton has to have done it because, dear God, Norton was built by morons. But you go down the list and it's like every time we turn around, things that were sort of long held safe assumptions, they're over. And now the current one that we're facing is, look, open source software is great, as it should be, but it is vulnerable in a lot of ways. A lot of times through social engineering, a lot of times through hacks, obviously, and in various stages we really have to be more watchful of the software. And in general, I mean, I'm kind of picking on open source software, but really this is anything. We haven't had a story of this yet to my knowledge, but I'm just going to go out on a limb here. Solid prediction. We've seen game studios hacked before. This has happened many times, right? And the stories are usually, oh my God, the employee's information got leaked, or information of all the customers for this game leaked. And the hackers may have also gotten the source code, and they may have done this, they may have done that. We've heard those stories. How long until we get a story of, oh, the hackers broke into such and such company, they stole the source code, oh my God, it's terrible. And then wait for that game to come out. Or maybe there will be no story in preceding the game coming out. But wait till that game comes out and it turns out that the hackers also installed malware into the game. That's not unrealistic. This is, in my mind, this is not a question of if, it's a question of when. There will be a day that a game comes out and the developers of that game unintentionally ship malware. I guarantee that is coming. I couldn't tell you who, though let's be honest, I think we know a couple of game studios that are very likely here. Cough cough Ubisoft. You don't have the greatest security reputation. Though it could very well be somebody else. Regardless, I'll bet anything that that's coming. Likewise, look, Gia Tan got caught. I'll bet this isn't going to be the only piece of software where this either has happened, has already happened, or at least will happen someday in the probably not that distant future. Look, all software is vulnerable, and if you have people maintaining it that sometimes are lazy or maybe manipulated, this is just bound to happen. So we probably need smarter ways of watching for this. And I hate saying this, but it's probably true. How great would it be if we could also task AI to look at things like this and be able to study the source code and identify, oh, hey, it looks like somebody may have added a backdoor. Maybe this is overly optimistic. Maybe I don't know. But yeah, I'm just going to go out on a limb and say we probably are going to have some rough years ahead when it comes to this stuff. Well, starting off on a shiny, happy topic. Austin, that's why I buy Macs now. I know that's sarcasm, but look, trusting Windows is rough. Trusting Linux these days might be rough, but we'll see. Let's see. Also, Chromebook for the win. Give it time. Give it time. Anyway, so let's see. What I figured I would actually start with today, I guess on the subject of operating systems anyway. Microsoft, also on the subject of security, this was unintentional, but it just kind of happened. So, Microsoft has given up the goat. They're talking about how much it's going to cost if you want to stay on Windows 10 and to do so securely. Now, in all fairness, if you've got Windows 10 for your device, you don't have to do this. But if you want to continue getting security updates, Microsoft has revealed how much it's going to cost. Apparently, it is going to cost $61 per device for the first year, which is high. And I mean that in every sense of the word, because they must be smoking something, I think. Especially because in the second year, it doubles. It goes to $122. $122 just to keep your operating system updated in the following year. Now, in fairness, Windows 10 is old. It is some old stuff. Let's see. I believe this article had a release date. Years. Okay, yeah, it's been nearly 9 years since its release in 2015. So yeah, it will be 10 years old when this policy starts. So it's not like people haven't had time to possibly want to switch, but given how a lot of computers aren't able to support Windows 11 officially, and just in general, this is You know, not everybody wants to move to Windows 11 for actual practical reasons. There's, you know, there's a good element where it's not necessarily ideal to force everybody into moving to Windows 11 quite yet. But this policy is obviously aimed at that. And again, no one needs to move on if you already have it installed. There's no reason that you can't stay on Windows 10. You just won't get security updates. And in a moment, I'm also going to kind of call that out. But nevertheless, they're basically going to do this price doubling thing, I guess, after 3 years, because the final target point is going to be $244 for the third year. Yes, $244 for the third year. And it is very notable that this policy apparently is cumulative, so that if you were to sign up for security updates after the first year, you still have to pay the first year's $61 plus the $122. So in total, if you do this, if you want to go for 3 years worth of updates, you're going to have to pay a combined $427 to keep one machine running on Windows 10 securely. And securely also is a bit of an air quotes thing, because look, Microsoft security updates, little hit and miss sometimes. Not that anybody's perfect, not implying that. But yeah. So yeah, that is a really high price. $427 just to keep a computer getting security updates. Yeah, Diablo, that's, I think, exactly the point. It is better and generally cheaper probably to just go buy a new computer. Unless you're keeping something running that is like a very high-end system, chances are you should just find a way to upgrade, which sucks, honestly. Also, I think it's kind of somewhat funny and telling that Microsoft effectively just gave away Windows 10 to most people, and now they want to charge anyone who's going to stay on it. That feels like a bit of a really weird wraparound of a bait and switch. Here, we'll give you this thing. We promise it won't cost you a dime. You know, obviously, if you're an upgrade from previous versions of Windows, obviously. And then once you're on it, oh yeah, by the way, you want to keep getting updates? Here, we're going to charge you in most cases like literally 8 times what we would have charged you for Windows before. Well, I suppose it depends on which edition you're getting, but whatever. Yeah, so this is their plan. These extended support policies are interesting. Or sorry, extended security updates is what they're calling it, ESUs. The one thing I can't wrap my head around, though, is, as far as I'm aware, there's nothing actually stopping anybody from getting their hands on the update packages and just installing those manually. Maybe I'm mistaken. Maybe there's something stopping that. But as far as I'm aware, that is still something people could do. So, especially because depending on how you're doing the updates, they're basically making it, let's see, do we have the remember they listed how some people could get a discount by doing oh yeah, Microsoft is offering a 25% discount to businesses that use Microsoft cloud-based update solution like Intune or Windows Auto Patch. I can't help but think that this means okay, so that's the cloud-based update solution. I'm curious because I have a feeling that somewhere out there must be a way of patching that you can export that file. And once you've got that and a way to install it on other systems, it seems like you could just keep doing this to as many computers as you want without paying an extra dime. Maybe I'm wrong. And truthfully, I'm not sure Microsoft cares. You know, it's one of those things, like, you can practically pirate Windows and Microsoft doesn't really try to stop you. I mean, they don't want you to, and they put in a few blocks, but I wouldn't say Microsoft is really trying that hard to stop Windows piracy. They just don't want it at, like, a corporate scale. I feel like the same is true of these updates. They probably want to charge corporations. They probably don't actually care if users are doing this. So, that's my hunch. Could be off. But at this stage, I think it's fair to say, and The Verge definitely came to the same conclusion, which, by the way, here's a link to this post, and since I forgot to paste that in. I'd say at this stage, yeah, the goal is definitely just to push everyone as hard as possible to move to Windows 11. I think Microsoft is tired of having this reputation of people sitting on the old version basically indefinitely. And, you know, I get it, but I think it's also kind of crummy. I will also say, I really think Microsoft, before they start forcing paid ESUs, I think Microsoft's smart move would actually be to get Windows, the new version of Windows out the door first. Look, granted, if you're staying on Windows 10 for any particular reason, chances are you're not necessarily eager to go to the absolute bleeding edge release. But I do know a lot of people who their update mindset is basically update to whatever's the absolute newest thing and then stay on it as long as you possibly can, because chances are you will figure out whatever your complications are, whatever the bugs and problems are, whatever needs to be worked around. You can figure that out and then usually stay with those workarounds until you abandon that version entirely. So I know a lot of people would probably be a lot happier if they can just go straight to Windows 12 and not worry about 11 at all. That to me screams that Microsoft should probably try to get Windows 12 out the door before these security updates start charging. Anyway, so enough of that. Talking about something a little bit brighter, a little happier, and very coincidentally, Windows 12 better be magic with AI. Yeah, I'm not sure what to expect out of that. Microsoft seems to keep changing its story about what AI will look like in future versions of Windows, and not that they shouldn't. Obviously, it's a rapidly changing world, but I got some hunches that they're struggling more and more with how to make it an actual good product at the OS level, but we'll see. But anyway, yeah, switching to brighter topics. YouTube just showed off, I'm gonna call it kind of an interesting thing, in large part because it reminds me of a conversation I was having, I think it was literally just last night, and I mentioned the same concept here on the streams many times. I've wanted a way to watch old TV shows with basically what amounts to a good fan edit. Okay, so for those who have ever watched, and you know, whether you have or not is, I don't know that these are that popular, but if you've ever watched fan edits of movies, a lot of times somebody comes along and says, you know, here's a movie, it's good, I like it, or maybe it's kind of terrible because of some reason, And then they decide, we're going to fix it. So they sit down with an editor. They either use some lost footage. They maybe cut out some scenes. They might reorder some scenes. They might change some music, some pacing. There's numerous things that you can kind of do to improve a movie or TV show. Now, fan edits, love them or hate them, whatever. They bring to my mind another thing that has always bothered me about particularly TV shows. The same could be said for movies, but TV shows really bring this out. A lot of shows have at least like one bad episode. Some shows have really important stuff happening in parts of an episode, but then the rest of the episode really isn't important or necessary. One of my old favorites, just to use I think, great example of this, one of my old favorites is Buffy the Vampire Slayer. If you judge me, I will wreck you. It's a great show. But season 1 is a mess. I love the show. Great show. Season 1's a mess. There are whole episodes totally useless. Like, literally every second of the episode is irredeemable. Yep, Angel was a great show. I love both. Angel was so good. And look, at season 1 of Buffy, you could scrape out a little over half of it and not miss a damn thing. Or, you could edit it down. I feel like all the episodes of season 1 of Buffy, you could really just turn into, I'd say, about 6 episodes. If you just cut them and just chop it up. I mean, we're going full on sushi chef. You know what? No. Benihana. Like, if you've watched and go crazy at Benihana, like, I want to see someone do that to Buffy season 1. Look, I'd like to do a rewatch, but I want to do a rewatch that's optimal. I want to do a rewatch that saves some time. That saves me from having to rewatch, I don't know, the one where Xander is being is being seduced by the teacher who's a praying mantis. And for those who haven't seen the show, I'm not making that up. There's nothing about that episode that needed to be there. It was dumb. It was weird. It was creepy. Even in that time when people were a lot less creeped out by teachers hitting on their students, it was still pretty creepy. Yeah. So I'm just saying, can we, this is a thing that I would like. Well, as it turns out, YouTube just took a step closer to that. I don't think that they're calling this AI, though to some extent there probably is some involved. But YouTube has just introduced a feature, or is demonstrating a feature, where they can pick out key moments from a video and basically sort of chapter mark them. I mean, this was already kind of a thing, but it seems like it's more of a thing now. But basically, it can make it easy for you to find just the moment that you actually want to see, or at least that YouTube itself recommends to you to see, and makes it easy for you to jump to those moments. Now look, this is right now just sort of chapter marking. But what if this could be more? What if they could basically take the same idea and extend it to TV shows, and then just do the cutting, editing, everything for you, and then output a basically new optimal show? Look, I'm not saying that this is an easy thing to do. I'm not saying that they're anywhere close to being able to do what I'm asking for, but part of me sits here and thinks, how cool would it be if you could just have if you could just point to something and say, look, I don't want to watch the full season of this. I want to watch something that's trimmed down. I want to turn a dial effectively and say, I know this show. I like this show. I think I could watch 80% of this show. So find a way to cut out 20%. Just cut out the 20% that's least important, that is least liked, stuff like that. I think this is something I definitely want, and I think YouTube is slowly and accidentally stumbling its way into this exact technology, and I want it. I'm here for it. To me, this is, I mean, it's not the same thing, but it's the same sort of life improvement that I think self-driving cars can give us. Self-driving cars could make it so we could sit down and take a nap while we're driven to work. Self-driving cars could give us the ability to, work on our way to work, or, as we're commuting, or as we're taking a road trip somewhere. I also want the ability to just say, you know what, show me a version of this TV show that gives me all the good stuff, but just maybe leaves out those dead moments. Gonna turn every movie or show into just a Michael Bay action movie. Oh man, see, the funny thing about that, if these sorts of things could be done, one of the parts that would almost be guaranteed is that it would actually cut out most of the action scenes. Because think back to most action movies and tell me what important storyline points happen during the action. I'm not saying that there aren't any. There certainly are. But action movies, by and large, just have like segments of 4 to 5 minutes at a time where literally no storyline happens. Go watch a Marvel movie. I dare ya. And just when the action starts, use like a track timer or a lap timer. Just add up how much time between when the action starts and when it ends. Add up how much time there is of actual storyline relevant stuff. I'm guaranteeing right now, it's not much. There's very, very little actual storyline relevant stuff in the action scenes. And hey, some people love that. Some people go to see a movie for the action. Wonderful, cool, happy. I'm not one of those people. I get so bored. I get bored out of my skull with car chase scenes. Look, I loved the boat chase scene in Indiana Jones. I don't love it in most movies. Actually, sorry. The boat chase scene in Indiana Jones and the one that's in The Italian Job, the version with Seth Green, that is, not the older version. Those are the only two boat chase scenes I care to see anywhere ever again. That's it. Just those two. I've seen others. In fact, I just watched one in... Oh, what movie was it? It was Lift with Kevin Hart. There was a boat chase scene in that. Bored out of my skull. I couldn't wait for that to be over. Let's see. Again, car chase scenes drive me nuts. Can't stand them. Anybody watch the latest Top Gun? Fun fact, boring as can be. Oh my god. There are good moments, but they're not many. Look, I'm just I want to see how Cranked would be recapped. Oh my god. That would be amazing. I want to see that. You're right. What? Actually, I know how Cranked would be recapped. That one's easy. Ever seen the movie trailer for Crank? That's the recap. That's the whole thing right there. Um, but yeah, Diablo. It would also depend on how they surface such things. We know like companies already dislike snippets of their articles. Yeah, there's obviously, yeah, I can see directors losing their crap over this. Writers and directors just hating it or taken. I kind of want to see. Oh, okay. This is nobody's gonna know this movie, but there's a movie called Go. Old movie at this point. It was back when Katie Holmes was still pretty new to things. Hold on a second. I just got an email. I need to make sure this isn't something critical. Wait, why am I getting it to that account? Oh, that's why. Okay. Good. Okay, those not critical. that made me nervous for a minute. Okay. But I will need to deal with those later. Would have been great. Oh my god. Okay, sorry. As I'm reading this, it's making me a little mad. Like, this is stuff that could have been sent to me 2 weeks ago. Jerks. Man, that's gonna make work harder. I can't talk about what it is for about a week. But, yeah. Yeah, there's a thing. I'm reviewing it. And, yeah, that's annoying. Okay, anyway. So, yeah, I would love to see how some of this stuff would be done. And, again, you know, like I said, I really want this more for TV shows than movies, because there's a lot of TV shows, especially, let's be honest, American TV is famous for this. People who were like snobs about British TV used to love saying, oh, there's no filler in British TV. It's just the story. Which, you know, I get where they're coming from. I've definitely watched some British TV where I would argue, bull. Because, oh my god, there's some British TV with some filler in it. There is definitely some British TV with filler in it. But hey, when Fast and the Furious 100 comes out, this will be good to have. Honestly, I keep trying to find ways to make jokes about Fast and Furious and then deciding, no, let's not make that joke. Let's not make that joke. Yeah, no, there's Fast and the Furious. I'm just imagining the cut down version of watching the Fast and Furious series. Like, if you want to do a rewatch, you get to the part where they do Tokyo Drift, and it's just like a 1 minute cut of Han in the car chase scene that ends with the car flipped. And that'll be the entirety of Tokyo Drift. But yeah, there's so many American shows that were great, or at least really enjoyable in their own ways, but man, you just don't need all of it. Think back to shows like the really episodic shows that still have a little bit of a story arc from episode to episode. House was a fantastic example of this. Look, I loved House at the time. I'm sure I still would. Hugh Laurie is a treasure. But here's the deal. A lot of the medical stories were filler. They were just filler. And House snarking about stuff is great. I want that. That's what I'm here for. But not all of them are at the same level. If you really want the best watch, I feel like you could just casually be like, all right, you know what? Let's just trim out. Let's trim out 10% of the snark because it's just not at the same level. Let's trim out like 70% of the medical stories because most of those aren't even that good. Or they're mediocre. Like the kid who was having stomach problems because it turns out he swallowed a toothpick and it wasn't showing up on x-rays because once the toothpick was saturated by obviously like just liquid in his system, it matched his organs in the x-rays, therefore they couldn't see the toothpick to take it out. Like, come on. Do we need that story? Show of hands, does anybody need that story? No. Hey Carson, how's it going? I'm getting to use a actual story as an excuse to complain about old TV shows. But the beauty of this idea is if you could just have an AI figure out what parts of a show are not necessary, maybe largely disliked, and in any particular way, like what's necessary to be seen, and give users the ability to sort of maybe craft the version of the show that they want to watch effectively and trim out the rest. This could make so many shows easier to rewatch. People who've never seen a show could say, you know what, I really just like, I don't have time to watch 10 full seasons of a show, but I have time. Let me have a 4-season version of this show. That would be great. And, could that be done with movies? Yes, absolutely. And, certainly there are movies that I think we could probably agree might have parts that we could cut out. Or objectively, maybe a whole third movie that mostly doesn't need to happen. There's a fourth movie that shouldn't have happened, and a fifth that evidently is going to happen, and oh my god, what are they thinking? I hope they retcon a whole lot of that fourth movie out of it in order to make that fifth. Anyway, yeah, there are things that could be done. Christopher Nolan's coming for me. Honestly, the things I'm saying right now, I bet there's so many directors who would straight up gut me for saying any of this stuff. Christopher Nolan, definitely one of them. Though there are others who are way meaner and angrier about any concept of this. And let's just be honest. I don't know. Look, I'm using Buffy as an example, but I'm just gonna say, let's be honest. I think Joss Whedon is someone you do not want to be on his bad side, because he evidently is not a nice dude when he's in an unpleasant mood. So, just saying, yeah, I'm betting he would really take offense to what I'm suggesting right now. But hey, it is what it is. Look, the thing stopping me from doing a Buffy rewatch is that I don't want to watch 7 full seasons of the show. I want to watch, like, call it 4 seasons, maybe 3, definitely 2, for sure 2. I mean, seasons 2 and 3 of that show, fantastic, phenomenal, truly works of art. Almost every episode. There's, you could cut a few minutes here and there, but, and for those who've never seen Buffy, seriously, watch it. I mean, you got to get through season 1, but then if you watch seasons 2 and 3, they're masterwork, absolutely masterful development. Character development is great, like, emotional moments, pretty decent action for a TV show of its time. Look, Truly, truly great work. After that, I mean, there's good stuff that comes after that, but you can stop if you want. It definitely goes way downhill after season 3. Angel, also really spectacular show. It's a spinoff from Buffy. Again, really, really great thing. But there's a whole season straight that honestly just doesn't need to happen. And I mean that in such a literal sense that they actually retconned the show. In between seasons 4 and 5, they basically said, you know what? We screwed up. We're just going to completely change the content and style of the show. Because, yeah, season 4 was a bomb. It sucked. And the second half of season 3 wasn't so great either. So yeah, they absolutely 100%. They saw what they were doing wrong, so they fixed it. Yeah. So, just saying, could we have AI that does this too? I think it could work. But okay. Anyway, enough of that. I've gone on this topic for too long. But let's talk about it. You guys have been asking me to cover politics a few times. And I think I do. I try to avoid it because, you know, it's a touchy subject. But when I cover politics, I cover it the best. I mean, everybody says this. Everyone knows I cover politics better than everybody else. I am the master of politics. When I talk about it, people come to me to hear about my politics. It's just what it is. You know, there's no denying it. In fact, people who tried to deny it have all turned around and said, I cover politics better than anyone who's ever covered politics before. George Washington even said this once. He knew that's how it was going to be. But yeah, we have to talk about Trump Media and Technology Group. Good old Trump Media and Technology Group. And yes, because of the circumstances, we actually get to call this technology news. Yeah, look, I'm not gonna deny it. This is just for fun. But Truth Social not doing well. Yeah. So this is a side effect of companies going public, getting traded publicly. They have to start releasing more financial details. They have to share the things that are going on. And as it turns out, the company not doing great. Not doing all that great at all. Somehow it is currently valued somewhere in the neighborhood of about $6 billion. We're gonna take a look at this in a minute. But anyway, so turns out the company lost about $58 million last year. And if you go looking at it, yes, here's the actual SEC report. They made a whopping $4.1 million. That, and again, this is in a year that they lost much more money. But the amount of money they brought in, this isn't profit, this is what they brought in, was $4.1 million. That's rough, bro. That's that. Look, there are Amazon drop ship, like out of your home kind of drop shipping companies. They're raking in more than $4.1 million. But Trump, oh boy, he managed to make their mediocre Twitter clone drag in chump change. Yeah, no one's advertising on there. That's exactly it. This is the thing. And who is advertising on there? I honestly, I don't know, but I'm guessing it's probably cash for gold operations. Companies selling supplements that will, I don't know, turn your pee green or something. And actually it'll probably turn it red. And I don't know, like weird collectibles companies. I who's advertising on here? I don't know if they offer any sort of paid stuff, because Elon Musk sure thinks that people want to pay for Twitter. Oh yeah, gun manufacturers. That's a good one. That's a good one. I would bet that some of them are probably advertising on there. Oh, Austin. Austin. Oh, that's only 4.9% of Carroll's lawsuit. E. Jean Carroll would look at this and go, give me more. Oh, I love it. But yeah, so they brought in $4.1 million. But then they, so out of that, let's note costs and expenses. So various actual costs and expenses, it amounted to almost just shy of $20 million. 5 times the amount that they brought in was their operating cost. Okay, that's rough. That's really, really rough. But then we have another section down here. Oh, what's that other section? Okay, it's quote unquote other income, but these are not income, these are losses. The big one, interest expense. Their interest expense was $39.4 million. Almost double their operating expense was the amount that they owe in interest. Holy crap. Who is running this thing? They're incompetent. Actually incompetent. Anyway, as a result, their losses for the year added up. And this is, again, with their profits taken out, because otherwise this number would be even higher. Their losses for the year end up being almost $58.2 million. And seeing as their previous year, I feel like this is an important thing to point out. In 2022, they made, again, they still lost money in 2022, but their income from 2022 was let's round up. We'll say 1.5 million. So they've managed to increase to 4.1 million in a year. That's okay. That's a somewhat commendable. They basically tripled their revenue. Okay, that's something. Even if they triple their revenue again in this coming year, which is unlikely, but it could happen. That means that they could get up to, let's say, 12 million. 12 million still doesn't even cover their operating cost, and it doesn't even come close to covering that interest, because notably their interest also went from 2 million to 40 million. How much is that going to be next year? If these trends continue even close to what they were, this company is going to be, it's sinking faster than almost anything that has ever been on the stock market. Right now, the idea of buying stocks in this company should be treated as a Ponzi scheme, because they're worth nothing, or they should be. So anyway, the True Social stock, which is what I'm going to call it. Yes, you could call it the Donald J. Trump stock. You could call it whatever you want. But, well, I don't know. Maybe I should call it the Donald J. Trump stock. Because, let's be honest, that's what everyone's actually investing in. I love this section from CBS News. Shares of Trump Media and Technology Group, whose primary asset is the True Social platform, tumbled 21% on Monday, closing at $48.66, or below its opening price last Monday of $49.9. It also represents a 39% plunge from the stock's high of 79.38. And since then, the stock has whipsawed, rallying 6% on Tuesday, but then dipping 5.4% on Wednesday when it closed at $48.81, again below its opening price. So, yeah, so far, aside from like some day traders probably making a few good bucks off of this, most people have now taken a loss on this. And look, when a company first hits, when at like their first week on the stock market, a lot of times the stock price will just look, you can look at almost any company, they almost all have something kind of like this. It shoots up, then it drops down really fast, and then it usually kind of recovers and kind of takes on a more normal, progressively increasing rate. That's not unusual. But when a company is consistently reporting losses, that's not a good sign. And when the odds of it reporting even more losses are even more likely, oh boy, it's gonna get ugly, boys. So yeah, if you want to own a piece of a meme stock, you could buy into this. Alternatively, and I'm not giving stock tips, this is not stock advice, this is not investment advice, I am not qualified for that, and do not sue me if you follow this suggestion. But I'm just gonna say, I have a feeling that if somebody were inclined to short this stock, you could very well make some money, because somehow, some way, this stock is gonna tumble at some point. Anyway, so yeah, I've had my excuse to mock True Social stock. Anyway, so yeah, at this stage, I'm just gonna say I don't think we're gonna see True Social around for too long, because this is gonna be a money pit. This is gonna be just like, honestly, I think Trump is probably just eager to sell probably his entire stake in the company as quickly as possible, because that's, he'll get back the money he put into it, and then some, which he'll probably need to pay legal bills. And after that, oh, by the way, for those that don't know, he owns 57 point some percent of the company, and most of that, or maybe all of it, he's not allowed to sell for, I believe it's 6 months. I might have some of these details a little off, and I don't care to look for it right now, but he is not allowed to sell it for something like 6 months. He's also not allowed to use it as collateral, basically because, one, there is a time limit on when he can actually sell it, but two, because the stock price is fluctuating so much, it's hard to give it any sort of valuation as collateral, so most places wouldn't take it even if they could. So yeah, realistically, the company might not even be there in 6 months. You never know. Regardless, I have a feeling he's basically just going to sell his entire stake in the company, or at least large portions of it, as quickly as possible once it becomes viable. Technically, there is also a deal where he stands to gain a ton more stock, or many more shares, if the company hits certain valuation points, if the share prices reach certain thresholds. And yeah, so far, it is not only far from that, it is miles from hitting any of the agreed upon thresholds. So, yeah, chances are he's not going to get any more out of this. Which it further makes me think that he's going to sell off pretty much all of it as fast as he can, because there's no incentive for him to stick around. And yeah, I think once he sells off, Truth Social will basically just be dead in the water. Even if he continues using it, I just expect that he will. Nobody's going to want to hold on to it after that. Or even necessarily keep using it. But in other political news, and also casually related to Trump, some of you may remember, also, by the way, this I think is going to be last story unless somebody suggests something else. But yes, the FCC is going to be restoring net neutrality later this month. Congratulations to the FCC for finally getting to do the thing that they should have been able to do 3 years ago. So, for those that don't know, during the Trump administration, a particularly crappy joke of a human being, you might see him there on the far left, Ajit Pai, a dumpster fire of a trash bag, basically killed net neutrality effectively. He managed to, using a conservative majority in the FCC, he managed to basically abdicate responsibility for internet in the US, or for broadband internet in the US. So back and forth, yeah. So basically what he has done, or what he had done, is it turned the FCC into sort of a useless entity within the government, giving up any sort of control or responsibility. And as a result, they basically couldn't enforce certain things, and since no other organization really was taking that role, we basically lost any sort of net neutrality. Well, when Biden got in, one of the first things that he said was, yeah, let's bring back net neutrality. The problem was he could not place members on the board of the FCC for a while, and it has been basically held up by the Senate, thanks to the Republicans and, yes, Joe freaking Manchin, because of course. Anyway, so now what we're looking at is the FCC is going to, or the FCC finally has its Democrat majority in place. We finally placed the new board member, and recently placed a new board member, and as a result, the Democrats now actually hold the majority, and they basically announced that they're going to hold a vote on net neutrality on April 25th. There we go. So the beauty of this is going to end particular anti-consumer practices. Here's the section. So it will get rid of particularly unfair pricing, blocking or throttling content, and providing pay-to-play internet access for services like Facebook, Netflix, Google, whoever wants to pay more so that their stuff gets priority. So hooray, the internet can be good again for a little while. Now I say good again. Honestly, I'm sure this depends on where you are, but for some people this probably wasn't much of a problem. For others, it's, I'm sure, been a mess. So you never know. Regardless, happy to see it. We actually get the FCC to do its job again, which is kind of neat. We get to see net neutrality happen for somewhat legitimately again. this all until another Republican gets in office and manages to flip it back, but we'll see. Let's see. Was there... trying to think if there was anything else that was particularly interesting here. I don't think so. But yeah, this fixes a really bad precedent. And fortunately, I think this comes at a time just as a lot of the worst stuff was getting closer and closer to happening. Thank you to Comcast for always doing its best to show us why things should be, regulated. But yeah, it's good news. We actually get to go out on good news. Who would have expected that? Anyway, man, did this? Oh, okay, I made it over an hour. That's better than I thought I was gonna do with these topics. Did anyone have anything else they wanted to suggest? I'm not sure that there's a whole lot of extra meat to discuss here. Let's see. Wait a second. Sorry, I'm just seeing something else I did not anticipate. Okay. That's what I figured that would be. Okay. Sorry, email notifications popping up on my screen, and it's like, wait, that's weird. Trying to think of what else I'm going to be doing or working on. Okay, so let's see. I know I will be gaming this weekend. There is a chance. Actually, hold on. I need to check weather. Oh no, this weekend's rainy. That sort of sucks for a lot of reasons, but we'll see what I can do about that. Okay, so does anyone else's YouTube app pause the stream briefly when reopening the app? I haven't used the background playback in a really long time, at least not intentionally. It's been such a long time, so I don't think it is really the same thing for me to answer this. But when I used it before, that was definitely a common problem. Like, anytime you reopen the app, there was a definite 2-second time period where it's like it was restarting the activity and it had to restart the stream for a moment and recache it. I do remember that being an issue. Let's see. It seems like April updates came out quicker for Pixels and finally circle to search on more phones. I have not actually tried using that yet. I guess I should look into it. The thing is, it still bugs me that it's a thing that we already had. I mean, it was just what I want to call it now on tap, but I don't remember what the actual proper thing was. Anyway, yeah, it's just bothered me that basically they just took a thing that we already had and then added a gesture, and it's like, hey, it's a whole new thing. No, it's not. Oh, okay. So the problem occurs if you just unlock the phone? That is weird. I think. I mean, I'm assuming it has something to do with the activity probably doing a restart. But maybe not. Yeah, part of it I'm sure is I just haven't used Circle to Search, so maybe I don't want to say jaded, but maybe I'm just skeptical because I haven't tried it. But and part of it too, and I do know that this is a little bit of it. Everyone I know who's used it, well, not everyone, but at least I can think of like 3 or 4 people who's made this specific complaint. They say that they've accidentally triggered it way too many times, and that part does kind of worry me a little. If you're accidentally triggering circle to search, it just kind of means that they may need to go back to the drawing board on how that gesture should work, how the activation should work, stuff like that. Let's see. The animations are really nice. Oh, that is good. And also, I gotta give credit to Google. Their animation game is actually pretty on point these days. It's funny because I would say that Apple's animations are a lot more non-interactive, whereas Google has gotten very good at interactive animations. That's pretty commendable. Let's see. The OCR is better than the recents menu on Pixel. No, that's kind of, actually, that's a little hard to believe, because doesn't the recents menu, well, okay, so the recents menu, or recent screen, whatever, correct me if I'm wrong, but wasn't it, I thought it was using, for any text that was actually like rendered as text, I thought it was still using not OCR, but I thought it was using accessibility to access that. And then for anything that was, you know, obviously like just pixels that were rendered from like an image or something, that's when I thought it used OCR. But I guess maybe not. If they were just using OCR, that's really disappointing, honestly. To be fair, I also don't use that feature very much, which maybe sounds kind of weird because it seems like it's useful, but I can't say that I've actually had too many instances where I really need to use, like copy from a screen that I can't otherwise select. Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, let's see. So I know some new stuff came out about Android 15 today. I tried looking through it and it felt all very boring. Let's see. I could have talked about the Sam Bankman-Fried stuff, but we've all heard it. The dude's going to prison for a long time, except he isn't, because he's definitely getting out on good behavior. Because white-collar criminals do not shiv people. They don't get into prison fights. So, he'll get out soon enough. When he does, he'll be scamming somebody with whatever's the new thing is. So, who cares? Yeah, I don't know. It has been, again, not a slow news week. There's just not a lot to say about it, which is kind of a shame. Let's see. Anyway, next week, oh, that's a shame. By one day. Wonder if I should see about delaying stream for a day. Can't say why, but I might try that. Yeah, we'll have to see. So, yeah, I'm trying to think if there was anything else to say. I don't think so. So, yeah. Anyway, this weekend should be streaming some Fall Guys, probably some Overwatch. I might even play, if people haven't already seen it, they are doing an April Fool's event that has been, it's wild. They did an extremely, really balanced patch. So all the heroes are super balanced now. Perfectly balanced, in fact. There's absolutely nothing wrong with any of them. If anyone has read about this, you know that it is like a wacky funhouse version of what the game is actually supposed to be like. Let's see. Oh, Dial was saying tried background play on Pixel 7 Pro, didn't do that issue? Huh. That's weird. Though, could it be that the app had like enough time to, I don't want to say freeze up, but did you just go into the lock screen and then unlock it? Or did you like give it, you know, a few minutes? Because I'm assuming that there may actually be a factor here where time is involved. Oh, and then picture-in-picture may be involved. Okay. Yeah, that... YouTube is always complicating things. Okay, yeah, anyway. I'm drawing a blank on what else to say or bring up. But yeah, somewhere in the next few weeks, there will be products. Things that I will have reviewed, or at least have reviews coming, that I will be hopefully able to talk a little bit about. So that could be fun, I hope, I think. And unfortunately I have to be outside for most of them, so if there's good weather any of the coming streaming days, there's a decent chance I might also be delaying either the start of the stream or may reschedule. We'll see how that goes. Oh, now it's not doing it. Oh, YouTube. You make everything special. It reminds me too much of all those times that I ranted about every phone that I had different settings for YouTube. Literally, like I did a Google Plus post on this once. Screenshots from 3 different phones, all updated to the latest version of YouTube. Each one had completely different setting screens because they were A/B testing everything under the sun. And they were all features that should have just been there. Just plain and simple. There was no good reason not to. And they all worked just fine. But they were A/B testing everything. So, yeah. YouTube's development practices are infuriating. Anyway. Carson, you'll be out this weekend visiting New York. Well, I'm jealous. I love New York. Haven't had a chance to live there, but was very tempted for a while. So yeah, definitely have fun with that. Enjoy the food. Oh my god, the food. The food is so good there. Or it can be. And let's see. Also enjoy just getting out of Texas. I mean, that's always a positive. Oh, you are moving there. Well, congratulations on that. That sounds even better. Though moving there in the summer, you know, I have said many times that's the one time of year that I wouldn't want to go to New York, because there's apparently a smell issue that is just unavoidable. But good luck. sorry to bring a stinker of a subject to the move. Anyway, so let's see. Yeah. So this weekend I will be streaming. Sadly, we'll miss having Carson around. And trying to think. Anyway, yeah, I'm at this point, I really am just rambling because I keep thinking I'm gonna have something else popping out and I got nothing. So with that, thank you all for coming by, hanging out, being part of the conversation. Welcome to the best. Oh, Austin. Wrong, sir. West Coast is best coast, sir. Um, uh, yeah. Okay, anyway. Yes, thank you to everyone for being part of the conversation, being in the chat. Um, again, I'll be back this weekend. Huge thanks to those who keep this channel going. Austin, Carson, David, Diablo, and Kirby Mermaid. I will... oh, and for anyone who is listening to this later, if you'd like to help support the channel, links down below to Cash App, Streamlabs, and Patreon. You know the routine. Let's see. Good balance. Diablo. Hey, we all know is Texas or outside the country. If you ask Texas, they are outside the country. At least that's what I keep hearing. Texas is not part of the U.S. the way a lot of them talk. Oh, this country's special. Anyway, so thank you all for coming by, hanging out, and Succession talks every second for real. Yeah. Hey, look, I live in Oregon where, believe it or not, it's not that different in some parts. There are parts of the state where people are convinced that they do not belong to Oregon, and they just think that we should lop off 80% of the state and hand it to Idaho. Meanwhile, Idaho is barely able to keep their economy going. It's never going to make sense to me. Grass is always greener, right? Okay, anyway, for real, thanks everyone for coming by, and I will catch you in the next one. Good night, everybody.